I almost didn't record this. I sat down twice this week with this little camera, and twice I got up and made myself a cup of tea instead. Because once you say something out loud, it becomes real. And some things you've carried quietly for so long that you're not sure you know how to put them down. But I'm 79 years old. My name is Margaret. Margaret Elaine Calloway. And I think I'm running out of mornings where I can keep telling myself I'll say it later. So, here I am, sitting in the same chair I've sat in for 30 years. The fabric on the armrest is worn thin. My husband Walter used to say I should replace it. I never did. I don't know why I'm telling you that. Maybe because that worn patch feels like the most honest thing in this room right now. I'm not going to tell you what to do with your life. I'm just going to tell you what happened to mine, and what I finally understood about it. Not at 40, not at 60, but somewhere around 75, standing in my kitchen with the radio on, when something inside me just shifted. Like a drawer that had been stuck for decades, suddenly sliding open. I grew up in a small town in Ohio. My father was a quiet man. Not cold, just economical with himself. He worked at the same plant for 38 years, and on Sundays he'd sit on the porch and look out at the yard, and I used to think he was thinking about something very important. I asked him once. I was maybe 9 years old. I said, "Daddy, what are you thinking about out there?" He looked at me, smiled a little, and said, "Nothing, Maggie. Just sitting." I didn't understand that for a very, very long time. I thought stillness was something that happened to people who had given up. I was going to fill every hour. I was going to matter in a way you could see and measure and point to. And so I did. For decades, I did exactly that. I married Walter when I was 24. We had 2 children, Daniel and Rosemary. We built a life the way you're supposed to. House, good schools, savings, vacations. Check, check, check. I was good at it. That's what nobody tells you about being busy. You can become so skilled at the doing that you mistake it entirely for the living. And I did. For a long time, I genuinely did not know the difference. Daniel was 7 the summer Walter got his promotion. Longer hours, more travel. I remember Daniel standing at the back door with his baseball glove on, waiting for his father to come home and play catch. He stood there for nearly an hour. The light changed. Walter called to say he'd be late. Daniel came inside, pulled off his glove, and didn't say a word. And I actually thought, he's fine. Children are resilient. Like that word excused something. Daniel is 51 now. He lives in Seattle. He's kind to me. He's a good man. But there is a part of him, a room inside him, that I have never been invited into. And I have wondered in the quiet of recent years when that door closed. Whether it was gradual. Whether it might have been that evening. The glove. The changing light. I'll never know. And that not knowing is something I carry differently now than I used to. I worked in hospital administration for 20 years. My supervisor used to say I was unflappable. I thought that was a compliment. What I understand now is that I had simply learned somewhere very early to locate my feelings and step around them. The way you learn to step around a crack in the pavement without even looking anymore.
You adjust your stride, and you keep walking. I kept walking for a very long time. Walter got sick at 74. I went into my mode, made appointments, kept notes in a little binder, learned the medications. Our children said I was incredible the way I was handling it. And at night, I would lie there and listen to Walter breathing and try to memorize the sound. That's the thing nobody tells you. When you love someone for a long time and you realize you might lose them, you stop planning and you start memorizing. The sound of their breathing, the shape of their shoulder in the dark, the way they hold their coffee cup.
I had spent 40 years in the same bed as this man, and I was only now, at 71, really looking at him. He noticed. One evening he caught me looking and said, "What is it, Maggie?" I couldn't answer. I just took his hand. He lived 2 more years after the diagnosis, and I will tell you honestly, those 2 years contained more real moments between us than entire decades had before. Not because of the illness, but because the illness took away every reason I'd ever had to be somewhere else in my head. There was nothing left to plan for. There was only him. Only today. And I kept thinking, why did it take this? Why couldn't I have just been here all along? After Walter passed, I went through old photographs, boxes of them, decades spread across the floor of the spare bedroom. And I noticed something. In most of the pictures, the vacations, the birthday parties, the holidays, I am looking past the moment. You can see it in my eyes. Something somewhere else. Something that needed attending to. But there are a handful of photographs, just a few scattered through 40 years, where I am simply there, present, unguarded, soft around the eyes. In almost all of those, something unplanned had just happened. A child had done something funny. A moment had caught me off guard before I could arrange myself. I sat on that floor for a long time, and I understood something I hadn't before. The moments I can still feel the ones still alive in me, with weight and warmth, are not the ones I planned. They are the ones where I was surprised into being present. There's a memory I come back to often. Rosemary was about 4. Summer. I was in the backyard, on the phone, hanging laundry, thinking about an argument Walter and I'd had that morning. Rosemary was playing in the sprinkler, going back and forth through it, laughing that big body laugh small children have. At some point, the call ended. The laundry was done. And I stood there for a moment with nothing in my hands. And I just watched her. The water in the air, her laughing, the afternoon light going through the drops like small prisms. And the thing is, that was available to me the whole time. That quality of a minute. I just kept making sure I always had something in my hands. Daniel called me last month, not our scheduled call, just called. A Tuesday evening. We talked for nearly 2 hours. He wanted to think out loud about something, not for advice, just to talk, and I listened. At the end, he said, "It's good to talk to you, Mom. Not thanks for the advice, just, it's good to talk to you." And I thought, yes, this is what I was supposed to be doing all along. Not solving, not being capable or unflappable, just this. Just here. I'm glad I lived long enough to learn how to do it. I'm sorry it took me until nearly 80 to do it well. I carry both of those things now, the gladness and the sorry. They don't cancel each other out. They just sit together the way old things do. My father used to sit on that porch and think about nothing. I finally think I know what he meant. Not emptiness, just no agenda, no performance. Just the chair beneath you, the light in the room, and the small fact that you are still here. He wasn't checked out. He wasn't giving up. He had just figured something out, and he didn't know how to hand it to me. And I'm not sure I could have received it back then anyway. Some things you can only arrive at by the long road. My name is Margaret Elaine Calloway. I am 79 years old. I have loved people imperfectly and been imperfectly loved in return. And on balance, on the whole of it, I think it's been enough. More than enough. If any part of this stayed with you, even just a small piece, I'd be glad to know. And maybe, sometime today, just let yourself sit for a minute. Just sit. Thank you for staying with me and listening my story. If you like my story, drop a comment below and subscribe my channel as well. Take care.